Okay, hello, Panda people. This is Teemu from Nopia and Tom talking about
Hello.
Dancing Pandas music. So we're just gonna have a quick clips on the gameplay on here and talk about the music and how did it all happen. So Tom, do you want to talk quickly about how did you get start working as a composer for games?
So I'm originally a classically trained composer, but I wanted to do films for all my life. And then at some point there was an open call for a game, and I am actually a big gamer myself, so I thought, let's go for it. And then I got the job. And this first game project was such a joy that I thought, okay, I want to do more of this. So that's how I wound up going to game conferences, one of which was a Nordic game. And that's where we met actually.
Yeah.
And I was just stumbling about the conference hall, playing some different games that were on show. One of those was an early version of Dancing Pandas, and that's how we met.
Yeah, it was very early version of Dancing
Yes.
Pandas. I recall. I remember there was a lot of people, stopping by and playing the game and also introducing like, "Hey, I'm doing art for the games," or "I'm looking for a job" or something. And like when you said like, "Hey, I'm doing composition," like, "Yeah, okay, let's listen up," and I was like, "Dude, we have to work together." Like it was, I was so happy to hear your previous work. So, and I'm like, to be honest, I'm really thinking that you're kind of like your music has really made the game what it is and has brought the soul into it. So yeah, let's talk about it.
And there it is.
Yeah, there it comes. Introduction received. We are not going to dive too much into the game itself. It's a cozy game. You're a panda. You're a dancing panda who just chills and vibes and helps around and wants to become a ranger. And Tom, do you want to talk about maybe like how we broke the game in parts with the level designs and everything for the music?
Yeah. So we have the game takes place on one island, or like a archipelago set of islands, which is the further you progress in the game, the further you go up this mountain. And when you start out, you are here at the beach and at the resort, which is very, for the music, we wanted to have this very beachy resort vibes, very upbeat, very bright, very summery, which is the part that you're hearing here. Then the next area is what we call or what I keep calling the spring area, which is a bit more foresty, a bit more nostalgic, cozy. It's still quite light, but it's not as uplifting as this area. And then the third area up the mountain is the autumn area, where it's becoming more moody, a bit more pastoral and peaceful, and slightly mysterious at times. And that's the final area before you reach the summit, where we have done something special.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, I think it was quite clear in the get-go, like how we are splicing these up. First, of course, we were doing all kinds of things. We were basically creating a different kind of game, and we were working on the main theme. And I think the main theme is still in this game. But then when we decided to break this new island into these three parts, then you kind of came up and we discussed with the team how we should approach the musical themes there. So do you wanna do you recall how it was that, for example, that this piece, for example, that we hear right now was born?
Yeah, it's actually very funny because the moment you started talking about the main theme now is the section of the summer track where we are hearing the main theme. So it's like the da 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 ya da 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 da. The actual main theme, you hear it later in its full form, but I tried to sneak it into every little part. And the theme actually came into existence, from an older version where we had a prologue where I wrote this main theme for. But what we are trying to do in the prologue, we're doing now in the end of the game. But this gave me the opportunity to use this theme into the different areas and the different tracks that we made for the other parts of the game. And so for this track, we had like the build of this area, early builds already, but also like a lot of concept art and just ideas of, okay, we'll have this panda here who doesn't like sunscreen, but he'll get sunburned. And it's just a very light, beachy vibe, almost Nintendo-y in a way. And then it's just a matter of listening to other tracks that have done something similar, seeing what they use there, and then trying to give it my own spin on it. So a lot of elements that I used was like the bright, uplifting percussion, some Latin American bossa nova rhythms with the guitar as well, steel drums, of course.
Yeah.
They're iconic for beach music. And then I liked to use these smooth string chords and kind of quicker flute textures to connect everything with what we're doing for the rest of the game. Because it's fun to have like this area where we have this very beachy Latin vibe, but if it's completely out of touch with everything else we're doing, it will also feel off when you're playing the full game.
Yeah.
So I try to get a few of those elements that are like very beachy, but then also still keep them in line with the line we are using in the entire game. And that's how we ended up with what you're hearing.
One thing that really strikes me with your pieces compared to, for example, when initially we were trying out developing the game, we were just using stock music for the time being. We knew that we're gonna replace it somehow, but like the stock music gets irritating very fast. But we've been listening to your music pieces now for over a year, and we still are not bored with them. Because like many times, like when you start developing, you just turn off the music. It's like I can't take that track anymore. Why do you think that is? Is it conscious? Do you know there's tricks for that, or is it just a happy accident?
There are tricks, but it's also in the end, what turned up in the game is not just the 3-4 minute tracks that I made, which were my initial this is gonna be the beach music. But in the end, I pulled them apart and turned them into 15-minute tracks where layers are changing, melodies are coming in and out, and so it's 4 playthroughs of this one track, but none of them is the same. So I think that's one thing that we got quite a lot of mileage out of a shorter piece of music. And another one is the structure of the piece, like where you choose to loop, which can be it's very often. And I also am guilty of this still a lot, because this is like the hard part of writing game music, is that it's very clear where the piece of music starts when you're looping it.
Yeah.
And I think for this beach track, especially the way how it's structured, very hard to exactly pinpoint where this point is, where it's starting over again. So you're kind of being taken into this journey of a longer track, and sections are repeating, but you're not sure where the start is. So it's you can never say to yourself mentally now we're looping it, which is what makes it repetitive. It is, I've heard this section before, but I don't remember exactly when this was, and it's slightly different compared to the last time I heard it. I think a combination of those two things helps into making it not too repetitive.
Yeah, you were mentioning something about the this area music.
Yeah. So one big difference that we just talked about is where if you're writing music for a film, it's linear, you know exactly where the attention span is going to go. But for a game, you don't know how long a player is staying in any area. So you need to make it interesting enough to spend a longer amount of time. So this is also why we chose to divide each area into 2 sub-areas. So we're now into the spring area. And I wrote one piece of music for spring, but then made 2 arrangements of it. So one of them is the village version, which you're hearing right now. And this one has a lot of pizzicato strings and short marimba and short strings to evoke kind of a playful, active village feeling. While if you move into the forest and towards the windmills, it becomes a little bit more nostalgic. So you have longer, drawn-out melodies. The piano is an important part there to invoke a nostalgic feeling. So this way we hear the same piece of music and we can reuse it in a way, but it will still be different depending on where you're going.
That's really key. First, also I recall that we we wanted to try all kinds of quite fancy, actually, methods on merging the music pieces together. But to do technical and time limit reasons, we ended up doing just that. We actually just shift from exactly what you mentioned from piece to another. So what do you think are the kind of differences between just like cutting from another piece to another rather than like, because we could do all kinds of crazy things with violin as a separate tracks and all that.
So so here you're hearing the piano now. We're in a different area, so the mood is a little bit different. So one way how you could go about this is using middleware, where you have a lot of control over exactly which instrument will play when, or which section will play when. But we chose to, like you said, for technical and time limits reasons, we chose to go it this way, and it just takes a little bit more brain work beforehand. Because with the middleware, you can say randomize layers or have more control over breaking up your structure and use shorter loops and then seeing where it's going to go based on where you are. But this way works similarly, but now all those changes are already implemented in the music track itself. So, like I mentioned earlier, I have this 2, 3, 4 minute track, and in my DAW, my software, I just placed 4 playthroughs, every single instrument separated, 4 behind each other, and then I just started moving things around and muting them. So this variety is already built in before the piece of music goes into the game. So when you're playing, you will have the same feeling, but it's without technical limitations. You just put one audio file in there, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So for this area, because you're getting closer and closer to the top, gaining more and more courage, getting closer to where in the end you'll meet Grandma as well, I wanted to let music breathe a little bit more in a way. So here there is more drawn out pauses, but also bolder musical statements, like the string one you're hearing just now.
Yeah.
And also having a horn melody, for example, I think adds to the kind of mystery that we have here, with the ruins and the autumny feel, where it really feels like, okay, we're making some progress, we're getting closer to where we need to go, but there's also still some mystery lingering here, and Mikko is kind of growing as a person, and I think those melodies are kind of, we move away from playfulness and more towards more adult music in a way, or more grounded, I would say. And I think this both reflects the change in atmosphere as well as Mikko's journey himself by gaining more courage and getting closer to actually meeting Grandma. That makes sense. I can be a rambler sometimes, where I'm forming thoughts as I'm speaking about them.
No, it's exactly like, and like you actually, I knew that this was the case, but the way you open it up, it just makes me so happy that actually we really poured our hearts into this game, and you as well. So it's really nice to see this actually came up, and the game is out in just a few weeks, the final one. So like, it's been a very long time that we got this together, and in reality we restarted the game 3 times, as you know as well. So like, I just wanted to also thank you for the really great work and really of your thought process that you put into this, and I think you don't always get to work with people who kind of get it exactly the same way as you have done here, because we could have just like have all kinds of, the world is open there, like what kind of music you can create for a game, but you really nailed it, and it's been really great. And maybe it's worth to mention about the soundtrack as well that you've been planning now.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks. I really enjoyed working on this as well with you. And so yeah, together with the game, or approximately together, we will be releasing the soundtrack for Dancing Pandas, which will have the area music, both versions of each area, as well as the music that you will hear when we get to the top of the mountain with the full main theme that we're not going to spoil right now, but you can find that out once you play the game or listen to the soundtrack. But that will all be in there. Thanks for having me again. This was a lot of fun. I'm very happy you're so happy with the music, and I hope it will enhance the player experience for everyone who ends up playing this.
Yes, I'm sure it will, and I'm sure that people will listen to your music a lot. Thanks, Tom, and we'll call
Thank
it a
you.
wrap, and hope to work with you very soon in the next adventure for Pandas.
Likewise. Thanks.